breaking down all the plays and getting you in the action. We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into episode number 8 of the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Let's just start this off right away. Mike Robb, what was your biggest surprise from last week on the gridiron?
Oh, man, the Whitmer Panthers. I mean, this team is, somebody that I thought was, a little bit down, but they got the players and they got it done. I mean, hey, go Panthers.
All right, Justin, you?
That's 2 weeks in a row we have a similar thought, but I'll just take the opposite side of that for Perrysburg, the team that Whitmer beat. That game was at Whitmer, and Perrysburg, they had the experience in close games, but they just had too many mental mistakes and uncharacteristic plays, dropping punts multiple times. And that spells disaster when you're against a formidable opponent like Whitmer.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about both of those teams coming up on today's show. But coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the playoffs, which are on the horizon. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. We're going to take a deep dive into Grant Kinnee's Player of the Week performance for the Anthony Wayne Generals last week. Also taking a look at some speed from Isaac Sexton of the Southview Cougars. And also our Game of the Week preview, Findlay at Perrysburg, and even more coming up on today's show. Make sure to tune in each and every week to the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. on BCSN. And also listen to us throughout the week on our podcast platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and BCSNNation.com/podcast. And also make sure to check out our social media at BCSN Sports for daily content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. All right, let's get it started off real quick here. Justin, we are through 7 weeks of the regular season right now. Like I mentioned, playoffs are coming up very, very soon. So, through the first 7 weeks, who are the pretenders and who are the contenders here?
Yeah, let's start with the contenders. We have a number of them across the different divisions because we'll talk about them here on the podcast as kind of a group, but it's not as if they're all playing each other within the postseason. It's divisions 1 through 7 in the state of Ohio, 1 through 8 in Michigan. So just some of the teams that come to my mind from the top: Central Catholic in Division 3, Whitmer in Division 1, Perrysburg Division 1, Anthony Wayne Division 2, Liberty Center in Division 5, Perkins in Division 4. Perkins for some of our Toledo area teams who may face them in the postseason. Perkins is legit. Perkins is throwing all kinds of haymakers and just blowing out teams. And it's not as if, okay, we'll score a bunch of points and we'll let you score a bunch of points against us. Their defense is locked down as well. They got a ton of playmakers. This looks so smooth through the air, and they can get it done on the running game too. Whiteford up in Michigan, defending Division 8 state champs. I like Oak Harbor, Findlay, Tiffin Columbian, Ottawa Hills, Southview, Patrick Henry, Hopewell, Loudon on down the list, Archbold, Wauseon in the NWOAL. But back to this more BCSN footprint teams: Central Catholic, Whitmer, Perrysburg, Anthony Wayne. Whitmer took a huge jump. We talked about how playoff points were on the line in this game last week, Mike Robb, and Whitmer took advantage of it. They got those first level points and the second level points, and then Whitmer ascending up in those region rankings, and I believe they're now third in their region, and they got another chance. They're going to face, they could face the team that they lost to in week 1, Olentangy, if they continue to win now in the regular season and then win in the postseason once we get to bracket style.
Mike Robb, who are you thinking here?
Well, playoffs is my favorite time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
It's no question about it, but more importantly, it's a lot of teams, especially with the 16-team format now. There's so many different guys that can get in and make an impact. And when you're looking at the Division 1, Region 2, which is one of the things that's very interesting, you see Perrysburg and Findlay looking like they could have a matchup there, and Whitmer. I really like those 3 teams. I'm really going to focus on that Division 1. I think one of those teams could potentially make it out to the Final Four and get out this region. Obviously it's going to be tough to get past Olentangy, and they're going to be good. But I think as the season progresses, if Whitmer can stay healthy, they got a chance. If Ryan Montgomery can figure it out and get back on target, we'll talk about that.
Yes.
If he can get back on place, I really think this Division 1 Region 2 thing is wide open.
All right. Well, we got all of these teams covered here on BCSN moving forward as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. Justin, what you got here?
You brought up the pretenders. I'm going to tweak pretenders, cross that out, put prove it teams. Prove it to us. Prove it to the panel here. Prove it to your fans. Some teams that are kind of on the second tier of their division, second tier of their league or conference. I'm talking about Bowling Green, Clay, Napoleon within the NLL, talking Scott, Start, and Lima Senior within the City League. All of those teams still are in contention for league or both league and division titles, but I got to see a little bit more of them. We got Start and Lima Senior set for a showdown in Week 10, but you got to get there first. So those teams have shown glimpses in certain games throughout the first 7 weeks of the season that they can be contenders, but they're still in my prove it category right now because some of those teams have slipped or had some dismal performances in recent weeks.
Yes, so keep it locked here, and we're going to keep you guys covered, seeing if some of these teams can, in fact, prove it moving forward. All right, let's jump into our Charlie's Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Player of the Week. All right, welcome into our Charlie's Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Player of the Week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Coming to us this week from the Anthony Wayne Generals, it's the quarterback, Grant Kinnee, giving us a huge game-winning drive last week to take down the Trojans on the road. He performed quite well in that final drive, and in the game itself, Anthony Wayne got the win over Findlay 18-14. Kinnee responsible for the final touchdown with 9 seconds left in the game to give the Generals that lead and get the win. Mike, Rob, what do we see out of Grant Kinnee last week?
You know, and Grant Kinnee was an absolute field general. He was a 5-star general, as the Anthony Wayne guys would say. You know, he stepped up in a big way, you know, making great plays on that last play. He was the Charlie's Jeep Dodge and, Ram Player of the Week. He was a done drive of the week, and he done it all, and I think that last drive really set up, how well he was and how smart he is. His IQ was on point. He saw the field the way they wanted him to. He threw the ball the right way, and he had that big run at the end of the game that really set him up to go ahead and milk some clock and go and win the football game. So Grant Kinnee, stepping up versus adversary versus Ryan Montgomery. And I was really extremely proud of his performance, and I'm sure everybody out there in General Nation was too.
Yeah, through 5 weeks of the regular season, as a quarterback, Grant Kinnee had more rushing yards than passing yards. So it shouldn't be unexpected to see what he's been able to do running the football, but his stats from that game against Findlay on the road, 10 of 19 passing, 114 yards and a touchdown, 18 rushes for 103 yards and a touchdown. Yes, he'll be remembered for the little scamper he found, goes right, then goes left to find the hole in the game-winning touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown there. But he had a beautiful touchdown pass to Griff Pike in the back right corner of the end zone. Just perfect loft, perfect form, good drop. Laid it right where only his receiver could make the play, not where a defender could make a spectacular play. But, Mike Rob, it's those moments where you got to have it. You kind of tell your team in preparation, and this is either a 2-minute drill or whatever you got to do, get the first down. Whatever you got to do, keep the clock in our favor. Whatever you got to do, make the smart play. And he did that time and time and time again with a great offensive line and then some playmakers who were pitching in during that final game-winning drive. But that's what you love as a coach when you have a guy that you can rely upon. Okay, we are totally confident in putting the ball in his hands because we know that he will make the right decision either all the time or at least a majority of the time. And you got to have it in those final moments if you wanted to win that game. And they got it done.
Yeah, they really did. Really chipping away. If you watch that final drive, too, which I believe you guys broke that down with the Dunn Chevy Drive of the Week, right? Yep. Really chipping away, just play after play, not taking a lot of time off the clock, just methodically working their way down the field to ended up topping it off with that touchdown there at the end. I mean, Kinnee just methodical there at the very end, and it seems like that's how he always plays.
It's just the IQ. I mean, you credit the coaching staff because they have a lot to do with that, telling these guys what they need to do in those situations and in those moments. Hey, you need to step up. You need to make this play. You don't need to make, and it's almost like they knew the assignment to the T and they executed extremely well. So, Schaller and Carroll and those guys stepped up big on that last drive. But it was the 30 to 40-yard run where Grant Kinnee made 4 or 5 guys miss tackles that really broke the spirit of the Trojans.
Yes, and we're going to see the Anthony Wayne Generals take on the Springfield Blue Devils this week. So we're going to see how they keep on going with the last few weeks remaining in the regular season. Well, if you guys want to vote for who gets to be the Charlie's Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Player of the Week each and every week, then make sure to tune into our Twitter at BCSN Sports, or our X if you want to call it that now. Friday night at 11 o'clock through Monday at noon. Make sure to get your voice heard. All right, let's go ahead here and let's move on. Let's talk about another team here in the NLL. We already mentioned it a little bit at the top of the show. The Whitmer Panthers came last week and took down the, at the time, undefeated Perrysburg Yellow Jackets. They were 6-0, and the Panthers came in and got the win 25-15. They've taken down teams such as Southview, Anthony Wayne, and Perrysburg now leading into Week 8 this week. Justin, is Whitmer the team to watch in the NLL right now?
Yeah, I mean, they should be. They were the preseason pick. When you're talking a panelist of coaches, the coaches within the league, they should know more than anybody else, including us, although we are very studious Northwest Ohio football fans.
Absolutely.
But they got the biggest school. They got the tradition. They've been on deep tournament runs. They've got to the state semifinals and the finals in recent decades. But the biggest thing for them is they have the run-pass balance. We've talked about it before, where when Whitmer has been great, they've had a solid running game. And Carter Lowe leading the boys up front on the offensive line. Brady Ford passing the ball to Logan Frank. We've seen those two guys team up numerous times on deep balls and crossing routes and just big plays for them. And then Joey Morales has emerged. He was the player of the week, I believe, last year, coming off of the win over Anthony Wayne. So we saw, and we talked about it numerous times with the Buckeye division of the NLL, those top 4 contenders with Perrysburg, Anthony Wayne, Whitmer, and Findlay. They're all going to go head-to-head. We've seen it play out, and thus far, Whitmer has risen to the top. Somehow, some way, it doesn't matter how you get it. Yes, Perrysburg made mistakes, but it's part of the game.
Yeah.
And Whitmer avoided, where it had at least less mistakes than Perrysburg, and they took advantage. It's one thing to, a drop punt, but do you capitalize on that? Like the points off of turnovers.
Yes.
They capitalized on that, and Whitmer got the job done. And they've only lost to 2 teams, and it's not like they had awful games. They lost to Olentangy and Central Catholic, 2 teams that are at the top of their regions. Those teams are a combined 13-1 right now. And Whitmer, I think, Mike Rob, do you agree, Whitmer has gotten better throughout the season?
Absolutely. I mean, this, like you said, going into the season, you already thought that Whitmer was going to be the best team. I mean, coming out the track, there was always 1 or 2 in the league. They got a league title in there at some point, but they're always a top team in that tough conference. And then I always thought just coming to the NLL, was a step down for Whitmer, honestly, just because the competition was not the same. And so with them coming in here, they should dominate this league year in, year out, in my opinion. Now that they got open enrollment, you look at the guys on their football team. Their quarterback should probably be at Eastwood. They got guys that should be all over the place. So now them coming into the NLL with this open enrollment mentality, they're going to bring in more and more guys year in, year out, and they're going to start competing with the Central Catholics of the world because kids are going to just start going to Whitmer. As other kids, say, hey, I'm going to go to this school. But now it's like, why not go to open enrollment school? It's free to go there, and I can go play some great football. Whitmer's only going to get stronger.
They are, and coming up their last 3 games here in the regular season, they got Northview, Findlay, and Springfield. So I'm just going to put you on the spot here. Do they go 8-2 to finish out the season?
Who's the last 2?
We got Northview, Findlay, and Springfield.
Northview, big dub. Findlay, if Findlay play like they played last week, which I doubt, it should be a shootout, but they're going to have to stop Joey Morales in that rushing attack and what they do defensively. So that game is a toss-up for me, but they should absolutely be able to win a few more games and take it there.
All right, we're going to find out. Keep it locked to BCSN. We got you guys covered over here. All right, let's jump into our next segment here. It's our clip of the week. All right, welcome into our clip of the week here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. This week, we are taking ourselves out here to Southview for an incredible play that, by the way, got itself up to number 10 on the SportsCenter Top 10 last Friday night. We actually had 2 clips get on the SportsCenter Top 10, which was fantastic. If you guys want to catch those clips, make sure to go to our social media, Twitter, at BCSN Sports every Friday night. But in this particular play right here, as we see it happen, Bowling Green usually playing through the ground, but this time throwing it through the air, hitting Jackson Schaefer. But watch Isaac Sexton just track him down and keep him from getting the touchdown. Justin, You always talk about the defense needing to make a play. We finally have a clip where the defense made a play. What are we seeing here?
It's exactly what I was going to say, Brendan. The fact that usually we're seeing, yes, a spectacular offensive play, but in some cases it's the result of either poor tackling or straight up laziness, which I despise. But this is the complete opposite, where Isaac Sexton is just busting it. Yes, they got beat, and he got beat, but it's what you tell youth soccer players and football players and whatever else. If you get beat, okay, that's fine, but go back and try to rectify it and get hustle back, and that's exactly what he did. And then I just love when you show the hustle and the grit and the determination, and then you're rewarded with it. Not only is it a strip fumble, but his teammate right there recovers in the end zone, so they get the ball at the 20-yard line. So it's the opposite of what we normally see, and this is Sexton. Normally we're watching him run the football on the offensive side. Right. He had 70-ish yards rushing against them, I think 1 or 2 touchdowns, and he is nearing the Southview school rushing record, career rushing record that is currently held by Brad Strubb, 2,507 yards. He played from 1998 to 2000 at the varsity level for the Cougars. So great play defensively, and then it looks like, I'd imagine this coming week, if everything stays healthy and he is on track, he will break the school career rushing record. So hats off to Isaac Sexton.
Absolutely. Mike Robb, what do we see from Sexton here?
I mean, Justin covered it all, and it's Isaac Sexton showing effort, and that's what college coaches want to see, and that's what he expects to be, and that's what he will be, a college football player. And this effort right here just doesn't go unnoticed. This is one of the first plays you should put on your highlight tape if you young kids at home, because this is what coaches want to see. It's easy to show, running the ball and scoring touchdowns, but effort plays, I mean, those are the things that separate you from the next man. And you just see great team defense right here. I mean, Isaac Sexton walking down that guy, textbook strip tackle, sack right there. I mean, not sack, but strip tackle right there, getting the ball out of his hands, and his teammate being right there, Johnny on the spot, to scoop it up. So everybody on this defensive side of the ball was locked in. They were hustling, and they didn't give up on this play. And if you're the coaching staff, Hardy and those guys, you're extremely proud of this. And if you're Isaac Sexton, you got to really feel good about the effort that you gave on that play.
Yeah, and one more note about this. That final score of this game was 41-0. Defenses love pitching shutouts, and you don't make this play, you don't get a shutout. So, look, this is in the first quarter. You also talk as a head coach, every game, every play within a game matters, whether it's in the first half, first quarter, first minute. All of it plays a role in the final outcome.
Yes, and this was absolutely a pivotal play here. Like you said, in the first quarter, had this gone differently, may not have seen the same sort of results at the end of the game. So, big-time play there by Isaac Sexton. Good job over there. If you guys want to see more highlight clips just like this, make sure to check out our TikTok. It's at BCSN Sports. We put out clips just like this every single week. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to follow us at BCSN Sports. All right, we got football every weekend. With our football, we've also got our student sections. And this week, coming up for our Unison Health student section of the week, it's the Perrysburg Yellow Jackets, the Swarm coming in. You guys are going to be home this week against Findlay, which we'll get to here soon on the show. But you guys were awesome this entire season. You guys have been absolutely killing it, sending us all kinds of photos and videos. You guys are awesome. Congratulations for winning the student section of the week. If you guys want to win the Unison Health student section of the week, make sure to send in your photos and your videos to us at BCSN Sports. Make sure to tag us and use the hashtag SSOTW. That stands for Student Section of the Week. Make sure to send in your photos and videos. I see all of it. So guys, don't get discouraged. Keep on sending it each and every week. We got you guys covered, and we're going to see you, Perrysburg, with the belt this week. All right, let's shift gears here. Let's go ahead and start talking about the City League here, because through 7 weeks here of the regular season and through a few weeks in league play, Lima Senior 3-0 to start league play so far. Here's my question for you, Mike Robb. Are they the front runners for the league title?
They're not only the front runners, they've been the front runners. I mean, the fact that Lima Senior's in the City League is kind of unfair, in my opinion. This is a team that's got a huge population to pull from. They're able to, field a really good football team. It's not too long ago that Lima Senior was dominating teams in the track, and having nice playoff runs, and they're going to always it's always secular for them. They've had guys go to Penn State. They've had guys go play big time college football. They got a guy at Ohio State right now, in Griffin. So this is something that I think that Lima Senior is going to continue to be good. They're going to continue to dominate. New coaching staff, got a receiver core that is extremely good, and the way they dismantled some teams around here already. it just says, man, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough go, but you got to have the depth. And I think if we can get to a Start versus Lima Senior game, it could potentially be good. But watching Start last couple of weeks, they've got to find a way to step it up if they really want to compete with them.
Yeah, and you've seen Start up close on the Thursday night City League football on here on BCSN. But I like what Coach Nate James has done. He's in his first year at Start, so he is the son of Ken James over at Northwood, who's been there for nearly 4 decades with the Rangers, and Nate James getting his first crack at a starting a head coaching job. And going into the season, you thought that they would be challenged by Scott. You thought that Lima Senior would play a role. So far, that has come to fruition. But just taking a look at Start versus Lima Senior in the final 3 weeks. Start is home against Bowsher. Start is home against Woodward. That's a win and a win. Then Start is at Lima Senior in week 10. Lima Senior at Waite. Waite has had glimpses. Then you got Lima Senior home against Scott. So Scott could do Start a favor by trying to challenge and knock off Lima Senior in week 9. And then you could have the de facto championship game and potentially have an outright win for Start if Scott could knock off Lima Senior in week 9. But I like what Nate James is doing. Billy Wirtz, Jonah Tall, Elijah Bailey have all done wonderful things for them thus far. I would love to see kind of a winner-take-all showdown there in week 10, albeit down in Lima Senior. But, as far as coming into the league first year and planting your flag, Lima Senior has done it.
I got to say this, though.
Let's hear it.
That Start versus Bowsher game, I don't know. I'm not sure that's
I got Start by 10.
Okay, you can take it. I'm just saying, Bowser's got a rushing attack. They can run the football. We'll see how that plays out.
All right. Well, we're going to see. We're going to find out. All right, let's jump over to the NLL here for our Game of the Week preview. All right, welcome into our Game of the Week preview brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Here on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Coming up this week in our Game of the Week, we've got Findlay on the road at Perrysburg Friday night, 7 o'clock on the NLL Network, host of Game Day Tailgates. Findlay last week fell to the Anthony Wayne Generals, as we already mentioned previously, 18-14. And Perrysburg also lost to the Whitmer Panthers, 25-15. So we got a really, really big matchup right here. This is a big one. Here's the question. Who's going to bounce back and get the win this week and get themselves course corrected for the remainder of the regular season?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think this is advantage Perrysburg. Initially, you're at home. You got the Swarm there.
Absolutely.
Great pitcher, by the way, in the student section of the week winners there. But Perrysburg, both of these teams have reason to come back with a fury. And I think both of the teams learned a lot. I think for Perrysburg, you got to clean it up. Just to avoid those special teams mistakes. Sam Lawson didn't have his best performance, but I think the trust factor remains there from the coaching staff on down. Later this week, I'll be speaking with Dirk Connor, Perrysburg head coach, to get a little more intel on this game. But on the flip side, for for Findlay, Anthony Wayne beat Findlay, as we mentioned earlier, and they double-teamed Javante Hill, the key wide receiver for Findlay. So for Findlay, they got to figure out, okay, what's our plan B when teams take away or contain or minimize the playmaking ability of Javante Hill from quarterback Ryan Montgomery? They need a reliable second choice who can rise up and score some touchdowns, really, and move the chains. So I think that Findlay's coaching staff has that assignment this week. How do we figure it out when our key guy is being locked down and taken away? And that's a credit to Javante Hill and a credit to Ryan Montgomery, how prolific they are, that you got to use two or multiple ways or stunts or whatever type of schemes on defense to minimize the impact that those players have on the game. And then Findlay coach told me that these types of games where you're not going to just run up and down the field and score 40 or 50 points, you got to win dirty. That's what he said, quote, win dirty, but not in the sense of illegal penalties or all that stuff or holding or anything nefarious. Not that. It's the grunt and the grind and the line of scrimmage battle. All of that is the win dirty type of plays where it's going to come down to, we saw the scores there, 25-15 with Whitmer and Perrysburg, 18-14 with Findlay and Anthony Wayne last week. Those types of games. games in the fourth quarter where you got to come and rise up and make a play, whether you're on offense, Anthony Wayne doing it against Findlay, and Findlay says, hey, those final moments, we got to figure out a way. Somehow, some way, defensively, get a stop.
Yeah, I'm with you, and looking at the Findlay football team and the guys that's got to step up, Nate Regal, Reese Little, obviously Hill, he's got to find a way, and Wyrick, they've all played great games so far. I think it's really about the supporting cast. We know what Ryan Montgomery can do, and I think it's more so about can the supporting cast come up. You talked about the schemes. Maybe put Javonte Hill in the backfield. Maybe let him run the ball a little bit because their rushing attack was, not as great either. So maybe you got to find special ways to do things with your players, and I'm figuring that they would do that. And then for Perrysburg, they were down a little bit. They were down on the offensive line. They had some injuries. They were missing some guys, and they'll hopefully get those guys back this week. So it should be a fun game. But you want to see Josh Tackett's, throw the ball a little bit better. He wasn't as accurate as he could have been. They were forced out the pocket, and they had to do a lot of uncharacteristic things that I wasn't really impressed with. But I think this is it's all a learning lesson. So for both of those teams to take L's, it's going to be fun to see how they bounce back.
Now, how important is it going to be for all phases of the game with both of these squads here? Because Coach Dirk Connor this week talking about, he was emphasizing the importance of not just the offense playing really well, but also the defense and the special teams playing complementary football. Being these two teams having high-powered offenses, the defense is probably going to play a huge role here.
Oh, yeah, defense wins championships. There's no question about it, and that's why Anthony Wayne was so successful last week, and that's why Whitmer was so successful last week. The defense stepped up, and on special teams, that's where you can lose these football games. You saw the muff fumbles, the muff pumps and punts and things of that nature. When you have those things happen, it's not going in your favor, and it really takes a lot of the steam out of your sails, and it really hurts your football team. So you want to be solid in all phases of the game, but you also want to be able to use some of that trickeration as well, so that way you can get some advantages, get good field position, but you also got to make field goals and can't get those things blocked.
Yeah, this is a key game for both teams as far as playoff positioning. Right now, they're 6 and 7 seeds within the Division I Region 2 rankings right now. And keeping in mind, you can play up to 2 home games, so you got to be in the top 4 to play 2 home games, top 8 to play the first-round home game. So in my estimation, the winner of this game is definitely going to get a first-round home game and then possibly a second if they can win out. But there's still challenges ahead. After Findlay plays Perrysburg, Findlay's got to go and take on Whitmer as well. So still plenty of challenges and opportunities is what I like to say. Opportunities for these teams to seize the moment and then get those victories that can play off them. They can lead them and propel them into the postseason.
Absolutely. And we got more games than just this one coming up this week. We've got games on Thursday. We got games on Friday. So moving forward for the remainder of the regular season, Justin, what do we have coming up this week?
Give me that game list. Thursday night football in the City League. Bowser at start. There she blows. We'll see what happens between the Racers and the Spartans. We also got Findlay Perrysburg, Southview, Fremont Ross. Does Southview keep the pedal to the metal? Don't lax on them. Fremont Ross came away with a victory last week against Clay. That became a little bit more of an interesting matchup. Huron at Bedford up in Michigan. Maumee, Rossford. Clay at Napoleon. Maumee, I want to see you go 6-4. Maumee, I want to see you go 6-4.
Let's hear it.
Clay at Napoleon. Divine Child at St. Francis. Lima Senior taking on Waite. 6 o'clock kickoff there. Norwalk at Perkins. Lakota Margaretta. SMCC at Danbury. Good luck to all of those teams. We'll have all those games live on the BCSN app. Some other games that we're looking forward to. We'll have highlights on Friday night. Our highlight shows Rogers at Scott, Whitmer at Northview. We talked about that. Montpelier at Northwood as well. So plenty of good football here in Week 8. Week 8.
Mike Robb, one other matchup right there that you have your eyes on this week. What are you thinking?
I'm looking at the Maumee game. I mean, honestly, I'm intrigued with this football team and the resurgence that they have over there on Conant Street and all the fun stuff out there. I'm really excited to see how they play, but they want to win as many games as possible because you don't want that draw where it's looking like, you're going to end up playing Norton or Central Catholic, and that's probably what's going to happen. And if you got to go down to Cherry Street in your Maumee, obviously it's a great opportunity to play some good football, but
yeah.
You don't want that.
You don't want that in the first round.
You don't want that in the first round.
And right now they are the 16 seed. There's still some navigation to be taking place here for the final 3 weeks of the regular season. But Maumee, regardless,
Absolutely.
They've already exceeded win totals from the past few years. They ended the 34-game losing streak back in Week 1. So it has been an uplifting season. And they're doing it with a backup quarterback. Malalucci's been out with his injury. So they've had the guys next next man up mentality. They've lived up to it, but I see them going 6-4. They'll be tested. Rossford's a pride, tradition-rich team, and they should have a crowd there, but Maumee, good luck to them.
All right, you guys can catch that game this Friday, 7 p.m. on the BCSN Now app, Maumee at Rossford. Thank you so much for tuning in this week on the BCSN Nation Podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Catch us next week, 4 o'clock on Wednesday, October 11th. We will see you then. Thank you for tuning in. We're throwing the ball. We're having a good time here on the show. We'll see you next week.